जयपुर वाया कोटा
कृपया ध्यान आपो अहमदाबाद
दिल्ली में आपका स्वागत
ಲಕ್ನೋ ಜಂಕ್ಷನ್
ನಿಲ್ದಾಣದ ಕಡೆಗೆ ಹೊರಟಿರುವವರೆಗೆ
হায়দ্রাবাদ 50 এক্সপ্রেস পরবর্তী স্টেশন নেতাজি ভবন कृपया ध्यान दियो
It's showdown time. It's the final countdown. Well, are the knights going to conquer or is the sun going to rise? Whatever it is, on this Sunday evening, you'll have to put that D&D mode on. We've put the D&D mode on in our studios because we've got Doull and DK in the house on Cricbuzz Live. It's always so good to have you, Doull, all dressed up for the finals, and DK, we've laid the red carpet for you. We are so happy to have you on the red chair, but that fan in me would have been much happier seeing you playing for RCB on the ground and not at CB, but that's how it is. But it must have been very overwhelming, all the messages you're getting in. How has it been? How does it feel to be back here?
It's been a very mixed couple of days. Ideally, like what you said, I didn't think that far. I actually thought if we could just get to Chennai, it would be great to finish in my hometown. Whether it was a semi-final or the final, it would matter, but not as much as it does right now. I just felt like, oh, we're just that close. But as always in sport, it doesn't happen exactly like how you plan. But yeah, I'm very nervous today, I must admit. I'm making my debut in an IPL game for Cricbuzz. So, having been here and I've done a lot of other matches, but this one feels different. The buzz, the way this tournament is unfolded, it's been quite a journey, and it's good to see. I heard good things about how you all have gone about it, which is as expected.
Just taking the R away and put the CB in.
Yes, he's taking the R away. And I don't know why he'd be nervous, because considering what the journey of RCB has been this season, the nerves he must have been going through. You're just sitting now on a red chair, you're familiar with the colours, you're just chatting about what's happened all season long. So
Yeah, very true. But you know how it is. Yeah. You were the same during the World Cup, nervous coming in. You come here 10 minutes before and waiting for it to start. So that's how well prepared you are.
Nerves of a different kind. They're always good things to have.
For all of those who are watching, please don't expect anything from me. I'm so underprepared, I feel, and I'm nervous. But let's see.
See, Simon, he's being that first bencher who's just so good at everything he does, which is why he's kind of trying to keep it, downplay it. He was finishing things for RCB. Now he's here finishing things off for
Exactly.
CB.
And we will look after him all night. We will be here for you.
We've got the senior pro in the house next to you. There's nothing to worry about, DK. We just want you to give us stories from... That's what we're waiting for. We've been waiting for you to come here. Well, the update from the centre is that SRH have won the toss and they've decided to bat first.
Wow.
So Pat Cummins said that they're not expecting any dew, and that's why they've gone ahead and decided to bat.
Yeah, and I get DK's thoughts on this as well, but I love runs on the board in a final. I think, in a big match, pressure situation, runs on the board, and in these types of situations, it doesn't have to be 240. I think around that 185, 190 mark on the board in a final situation just puts the other side under a little bit of pressure. And if you can go out there and do that, you back your ability. It's been their biggest strength, has been batting first for Hyderabad this year. So to me, I love that decision. And that's the captain saying, we're going to back ourselves. We're going to back our strength. We don't want to give them the opportunity to put runs on the board and put us under pressure chasing.
DK, I'm told it's a red soil pitch, so what can we expect from the pitch today? Because we've seen the CSK pitches have not been quite the CSK-like pitches all season long. What can we expect for the big day?
A red soil pitch, basically the soil comes from this part of the world where we are in Mumbai. It comes from Ahmedabad, parts of Gujarat. It has a lot of bounce than normal pitches. Most of the pitches in the west of India, Bombay, Ahmedabad, all of them have a lot of red soil pitches. It aids spin if it's very dry, which is the case in this ground. If you did see the pitch, as you're watching the pictures, you'd see that there's absolutely no grass cover. So it tells me that there will be a bit of grip. And yesterday, or rather day before yesterday, when they played the match between SRH and RR, it was the same case when the spinners actually ruled the roost in the second
But it almost felt like the second half was another pitch when they were playing. So do you think it was the dew? Do you think it was things that changed it? Can we expect that today as well?
So if it was a boxing contest, round one belongs to SRH. I think batting first in a big game in a big tournament like this is a massive plus.
Yes.
And having said that, over the years, what's happened is there is this massive villain called Dew, which comes in and spoils most of the bowlers' plans, and hence teams started preferring to bat second. If there is no Dew, it will be a massive head start for SRH, because batting first, lesser pressure, and the fact that your spinners can come on to do something special in the second innings puts even more pressure, and you're chasing a scoreboard. There's a lot of things that goes into the dynamic of chasing in a big final. So kudos to Pat Cummins, something that SRH will be proud of, the way he's led the team. Good to see him winning the toss and taking the right call, I feel. What is good about Pat Cummins is he is brave to take decisions against the grain of what is the norm or perceived norm of how cricket is to be. A great example was the World Cup final. There was such a big game. People all saying that win the toss, bat first, but they bowled first. That takes a lot of courage, because when you get it wrong, like they did in Ahmedabad, when they won the toss and they batted, it looks very poor.
Yeah.
But I think that's been the strength of him as a captain and a leader, where he is willing to do what his team believes is the right way to go about it. Results come your way sometimes it doesn't, and that's been a big strength of his.
Yeah, totally agree. I think he's done a great job. The record suggests that he's a terrific captain. He's a very likeable human being, which is hard for a Kiwi to say about an Australian. But he really is. And I think what he does is he galvanises teams, because he leads as well. I mean, much like a Kohli led from the front with fitness levels, those sorts of things. Kane Williamson leads in a different sort of way. But Pat Cummins is a leader. There's captains and there's leaders.
Yes.
And I think, more importantly, at times, leaders are the ones that get you home in big tournaments and big games. And I think he's a genuine leader.
Well, we've seen him get his team across home in many big games. But here at Cricbuzz Live, we know that there is election fever all around India. We've all voted. But at Cricbuzz Live, we had a different vote that we conducted yesterday on who's going to win today's game. And I want to have a look at what the poll was. So it is majorly in favor of the Purple Army. DK, are you surprised to see just those 4 faces, including yours, there at with Hyderabad, but a whole lot of faces there? Maybe it's just the head-to-head record.
No, for a start, it feels good to see my face there. For a while, I've been seeing this kind of graphics. For one award, I was in contention, the Super Striker award. So, with other players, suddenly I'm seeing them all with retired people. So I was getting used to that graphic, but it feels good. But yes, I believe SRH have a better chance today, just the matchups and the confidence going in. And I believe in Pat Cummins, the leader. So they do have a few aces up their sleeve. The games that they've lost, the one consistent thread has been that either Abhishek or Head has failed. If one of them get going today, I do think they'll post a very interesting total.
Well, if we had a look at that, both the wicket keepers on our panel are saying that it's going to be Hyderabad. Of course, Gilly has some other interests in Hyderabad, I'm sure, which he's voted for them. But Simon, for you, do you think this season Hyderabad has lost both the games to KKR? So considering that,
that's kind of where I went, and to me, Hyderabad came right back into the mix. I was tossing up between the decision I made. They came right back into the mix after winning in Chennai the other night. To me, having played a game just 2 nights ago on a ground that feels familiar, you've got a winning feeling back in your dressing room, that brought them right back into the contest. But I just felt that what Kolkata have done so well throughout the season is their performances from 1 to 8 and then the bowling attack has just been consistent, and they've got match winners all over the park. And to me, that squad, it's got power in the batting a lot deeper than I think that Hyderabad have. I don't think Hyderabad have that real power. And as DK mentioned, when Head and Abhishek have failed, it's fallen away somewhat for them. It's relied so heavily on Klaasen.
Yes.
And that's my one worry with Hyderabad. If they get off to a flying start, I'm not sure that they can be beaten. But that would be the worry if they don't. And to me, I went for Kolkata because I think across the board, performance-wise throughout the season, they have looked the best side. But it was a bit of a...
It was a close one.
It was a 55-45 call for me.
That close.
Yeah.
But you all both spoke about how the openers have done it for Hyderabad. So if they get going, it is Hyderabad's day. The numbers do the talking here. Every time they've gotten off to those flyers, We know what they have done, DK. They've got those 287 scores, that 125 in the power play. They've almost rewritten how cricket's played, T20 cricket's played. But do you think there are those gaping holes if they get out? Then there's just too much pressure on Klaasen and not too many other players have stepped up?
I remember playing the game against SRH and we played 2. The major talking point was the openers. You need to get past them in the first 3 to 4 overs because they don't play differently. You know they're going to come and they're going to come hard. And they have very good skill set. It's hard to bowl to them because very different openers as well. One is extremely good against pace. One is extremely good against spin. Not that they're weak against the other, but the strength, actually the difference in strength is very evident as a bowling unit when you do well against them. And the fact that, you have a world-class player in Heinrich Klaasen to back it up in the middle. But what I think and why I feel SRH have a slight edge is the mojo they've found in Rahul Tripathi. He's a very key part of that puzzle. He actually is a bit of a glue that holds that team together. And that's been the Achilles heel for SRH, the number 3 slot. They've tried various, Amulpreet Singh, Mayank Agarwal, Rahul Tripathi started it. Nothing has worked. But I think the last 3 games has actually shown why Rahul Tripathi is such a special player. And those stats are good, but it can be a bit... this is SRH stats, so it is very straightforward, the effect that he's had on the team. I think this is
Hyderabad's number 3 batters that they've tried all season
Correct.
long.
That, again, Heinrich Klaasen 67 was very much against us. But Rahul Tripathi is a very key player for them. And that's why he's so highly rated, extremely good team man, one that can change games with the bat. But what will give them a lot of confidence is in all 3 occasions that he's batted, or 4 occasions that he's batted, there's been an early wicket. And he's come in and kept up with the tempo that would have been the case if the batter who got out had been there. So that is a big plus. There's one thing coming and taking time and playing, and one thing getting ahead with the tempo.
And a tempo that both those two are setting.
Yeah, exactly. Because as a player, it's one thing to come and absorb pressure, which used to be the norm, and it is the right thing to do. But while absorbing it, you have to have the skill sets to deliver the pressure back to the bowler, which is what Rahul Tripathi has done. It's a hard skill to have, but it's good to see him do that. Because once he gets going, then there's Markram, Klaasen, Nitish Reddy, who actually are very, very effective. They need to get those 3 batting somewhere around the 8th, 9th over. And, as a bowling unit, you are under the pump.
That's a great point. My point on Tripathi is when they've lost an early wicket, he's been successful. When he comes in after the power play, he's not been successful. He doesn't start well against spin. So I think if the openers bat through to the 5th over, Tripathi just slides down the order for me. And that then creates some more success, I think, for Hyderabad. If they look at it that way, if they lose an early wicket, because he's so good against pace, and I think he needs the field up, if it's the 1st or 2nd over, get him in straight away. If it goes to the 5th over, that opening combination, 6th over, then he just slides down the order. You get Klaasen in as soon as the spinners come on. In that sort of space for me, he just comes out at number 3 if they bat to the 5th, 6th over. But it's been a great point. He saved them on 3 occasions now.
Well, they have a raging team that they're going to be playing against, and some of the best spinners that we've seen this IPL that both of them are going to have to face. But KKR have just been a very dominant side, DK, this season with the bat and on the field and with the ball. They've just lost 3 games this season, so clearly they've been dominating from the word go.
For a start, having played this season, I can tell you the two best teams of the season are definitely these 2 teams. They've been the most consistent. They have created certain benchmarks, which is always the sign of a good tournament. And that's what these 2 teams have done. I think they can be very proud of the way they've played so far in this tournament. Not one team among the 2 have come by luck. They've had to really work hard, dig deep in a lot of situations in terms of understanding personnel and the way they want to play. And both these teams have shown how they want to be playing cricket in terms of T20 cricket from here on. It's been very attractive to watch. And a very similar template in a way. Go hard at the top, keep maintaining that through the middle, and then push hard at the end as well. With the ball, try and attack as much as possible. So it's been great, but KKR has been outstanding. I think the infusion of Gautam Gambhir has been the best thing to have happened to KKR. The positivity that he's brought in terms of backing players. I was there as a captain when Narine was, did brilliantly, but then tapered off. For Gambhir to come back and say, he's my man, when actually the rest of the world felt, he's no good now with the bat. I think there are better players around. Why do you just want to give a free wicket? What's the point giving the initiative to the bowling team? To have come back from day one and said, Narine is my opener, he'll do the job for me. Brilliant. Phil Salt coming in place of Jason Roy and then showing the world why he is so good, why he is so rated. It's just been beautiful to watch. Varun Chakravarti. He's a man that you want to speak about as well. I think he's been very underrated, done a job whenever it's mattered for them. Very well led by Shreyas Iyer and some real good performances. When you play KKR, the one thing that's very obvious, and Simon pointed out beautifully, is the amount of power that they have all the way to number 8 or number 9, when you just feel like, wow, I've taken a wicket.
One after the other, one after the other.
And then Russell comes in.
Yeah.
And then his younger brother Ramandeep comes in after that. And you think, my God, when you stop at number 9, they have Mitchell Starc who can hit a ball.
Yeah.
So you're like, will you even give us some breathing space here? That is the deepest batting lineup and the most powerful batting lineup. And the best part about KKR and why they have done so well is everybody has performed. From Ramandeep, Nitish Rana, Shreyas Iyer, you just take the names, Ankrish Raghuvanshi who played for a bit, Russell, and that's been beautiful to watch.
Well, the former KKR captain has spoken about everything going right for KKR, and of course the bowling unit has also come together. Simon, we'll have a look at the playing 11s and see if they're going ahead with any changes. Let's have a look at KKR's playing 11 first. I mean, no surprises there. They've got pretty much everything going right, so no changes there. We'll have, this is their bowling 11. We'll have a look at their impacts as well. Again, no real changes in those impacts either. It's a big day. Why tinker around anything that's been working for the team? So they've gone ahead with pretty much what has been working for them.
There's not much point in changing when it's been going so well. You know, the impact subs have worked well for them. They've got a crack 11 as far as the bowling is concerned. Most of the guys have got, you know, I think 14 wickets. Is Starc on 14? He's the lowest of the key 5 bowlers in the tournament. So they're all taking wickets. I think, you know, the young Indian paces have been superb. And they kind of held it together at the start of the tournament.
Yes.
Remember Mitchell Starc's start? The start of the tournament for Mitchell Starc was poor by his huge standards or high standards. And the young Indian paces held it together along with Dre Russ for the first half of the tournament. And Starc's slowly come right in the second half. He got 15 wickets. So, I just think, you know, that bowling attack is as good as anything. And when you throw Chakravarti and Narine in any side, I mean, it's tough to play against. Who do you go at?
Yes.
Who do you attack? And that's going to be the key for Hyderabad.
All right, let's quickly have a look at Hyderabad's playing 11 as well and see if they have any changes for the big game. No changes considering Pat Cummins does not like to change things around. He likes to back the same playing 11. He's gone ahead and done that. This is their batting 11. We'll have a look at the impacts as well and see if they have any surprises there. Well, again,
the one thing they could have done, and I know it would be harsh on Markram, he's had a really poor season with the bat. I thought Phillips might have deserved an opportunity, even in the last game. And Markram failed again in the last game, but Phillips hasn't had a game.
Yes.
I just thought he bowls better off spin. He's as dynamic in the field as Markram, but I know that what Pat Cummins does a lot is leans on Markram for advice because he was captain last year. And maybe that's just what's tipped the scales in Markram's favour.
But would you have changed on the big day, DK?
If you do see, there is one change from their last game in the starting 11. So they had Abdul Samad last time, but because they're bowling, they've brought in Shahbaz Ahmed and they'll bring in Abdul Samad as their impact player.
Yes.
But it's a very fair point to have thought about Markram and rather Glenn Phillips in place of Markram. But I can completely empathize and understand from Pat Cummins' point of view. At the start of the season, Markram walked into it thinking he's going to be the captain. But things changed in the mini auction when they picked Pat Cummins. The message was very loud and clear. No, even though for the same team which he represents in the SA20, he's won it twice on the bounce. So that must have been a bit bolt out of the blue. And then it got to a point where how do we fit him into the 11? If Hasaranga had actually been there, it could have been a case of him not even starting.
True.
But unluckily, Hasaranga didn't turn up, so they could have Marco Jansen and Markram in. But it came to a stage where they couldn't fit the 11 with Markram in there. They needed another bowler. So it had to be between Markram and Jansen. They went for Jansen, didn't work. They've come back to Markram. But what happens is when you have a player of that caliber, a national captain, somebody who has the pedigree, it's one thing to drop him, but when you want to bring someone in, you'll again go back to the same person because you just feel that deja vu feeling of, okay, this guy will give it to me when it matters most. He didn't get going last game. But I understand why a Pat Cummins or a Dan Vettori would, hold on to a Markram. And also the harmony of the team. Sometimes you can fragment very quickly if you make big, bold decisions when the team is doing well. You don't want to, disrupt too many things and, it's understandable.
Well, DK, you spoke about both the best teams playing the finals. It's not just the best teams. Both these best teams have the most expensive players in both these teams. So there was so much discussion around Pat Cummins and Starc. We'll start with Pat Cummins because we were talking about him and how he's been so good, not only as Pat Cummins the bowler, but Pat Cummins the captain as well, the brave decisions he's making. Do you think Hyderabad will now be saying he's completely worth the money we've paid for?
100%. I mean, when you spend the most money on two key players, and they haven't got them to the final in Kolkata's case. I don't think Starc's been the one that's got them there, but I think Cummins had an enormous role in getting Hyderabad to the final. His relationship with Daniel Vettori, I think has been crucial. I've talked about it a lot with Daniel being underneath Andrew McDonald in the Australian setup for the last 2.5, 3 years. So his relationship with Daniel Vettori has shone through, I think, in what they're trying to do on the field, off the field. He obviously wanted Travis Head as well, which was a big one for them to get. And just that combination, I think it's worked a treat. And, Cummins, if you'd have said to me 4 years ago, that Pat Cummins would be one of the top white ball cricketers, I would have said, I'll put you in a straitjacket. You got rocks in your head. But he has transformed his game enormously, and he's a brilliant 50-over bowler. He's become a very, very good T20 bowler and operator, and he's probably the best captain in the world at the moment.
It's very interesting Simon says this because I was there in the studio about 6 months ago when the World Cup happened. After 3 losses, Simon was, do you think you should be leading this Australian team? In the same studio, if you remember, because they had a tough start to the World Cup campaign, and they were talking about how at times it can be really hard on a fast bowler to come and lead a team and play all 3 formats. But to just see him transform teams right now. In the Ashes a year ago, he bowls brilliantly, but more so handling the media and all the controversy that went around in such a dignified manner. It takes a bit of a gentleman to be able to handle it with so much care and aplomb, and you're leading a nation which has got a bit of a rough history when it comes to recent cricket. So you got to put all that into context and realize that Pat Cummins has arguably been one of the best leaders going around in world cricket right now, and he's won pretty much everything that's possible. And kudos to him. He's a great guy to have. I remember when I was in KKR, he joined the team. A very good person to have around. Very, very fun-loving, very easygoing, one that lifted the atmosphere. Can't say his bowling transformed KKR's fortunes, but definitely him as a player was very effective for a lot of the younger bowlers. And that is very, very good to see. And I think he's been the best thing to happen for SRH because there have been a lot of performers. Abhishek Sharma, they've been much better performers than Pat Cummins. Abhishek Sharma, you can take Travis Head, Heinrich Klaasen, a lot more. Natarajan has been an absolute diamond this year. But it's Pat Cummins because the role of a captain is literally like leading a nation. There's a lot of work that goes on between 12 o'clock in the night when the game gets over to next match at 7:30 in the evening. There is so much that happens. That is the tough part to handle, and I think that is where he's been brilliant.
And he's doing it all with a smile. He's in malls, he's in store openings, he's winning it for Hyderabad. He's everywhere, but with that smile on his face and just doing it with so much pleasantry. It almost feels like he's such a pleasant person. Well, his teammate, Starc, like you all said, didn't get off to the best start. There was a lot of discussion on, we've paid so much money for Starc and he's not doing anything. He's not turning around KKR's fortunes, but we know he's that big match player. What is it about Australians coming in on those big matches, in the World Cup games, in the pressure games? They just have some sort of a switch saying it's a big game, I'll put that switch on.
When you've been there and done it, it doesn't feel as foreign to you. And they are. That's the sort of thing that they do all the time, that they get to finals and they win finals. They are used to it. When you're not used to it, you start to feel the pressure. And that's where Mitch Starc or most of the Australian players, they don't feel the same pressure. They'll feel nervous, and rightly so, because in these situations, if you don't have a few nerves, there's something wrong with you. But and I think the money at the start, I talked about this the other night, however much you go for in the auction, it's not your fault.
Yes.
You're not asking for that money.
But the pressure's on you.
But the pressure comes with that because we talk about it. Because the newspaper articles are there. It's all over the television, how much you're getting paid. It goes back to Australia. It makes headlines in Australia, how much he's getting paid. Then the next day he's bought a farm with Elisa Healy out in the country. He's paid $6 million for a farm. So it snowballs and the pressure comes upon you. for that very reason. So it's a different type of pressure, and all you really want to do is get out on the park and ply your trade and do what you do and do what you love doing.
Yes.
So I think he struggled a little bit with it at the start of the tournament, but like all great players, and he's a great bowler, you find a way to overcome it, you get more comfortable in that situation, and you find a way to have some success for your team. And he will be a huge player for Kolkata in this final today because of that very reason. He's been there and he's done it.
But DK, not just Starc, the famous saying, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. If Thompson doesn't do it, Lily must. They've almost rechristened this to if Narine and Chakravarti don't do it, then Russ and Starc must. Because that's what KKR has done with the bowling. Everyone is performing. And if you see these numbers, if they manage to get 1-2 wickets, they already have 2 in the top 10. If 2 more of them get wickets, you'll have 4 bowlers in the top 10, which is incredible.
It's pretty much the reason why they are in the finals. Bowling wins you games, without a doubt. And I mean, rather, they say bowling wins you championships, forget games. And that's what they've been really good at. They've been a very well-rounded attack. They've had great pace with Harshit Rana, who's been very, very good. Mitchell Starc, who's really raised his game towards the end. The 2 spinners, I think the more we speak, the less it is in many ways because they're that good and they've been very, very effective, as always. But it's been good to see Mitchell Starc come about and do what he's done in the last few games. He definitely requires it. Just the fact that when I met him in the first half of the tournament, the same guy is who I met when I met him in the back end of the tournament. So what I'm trying to say here is, irrespective of whether he was doing well or not, he had an impact on the younger boys, and more so his demeanor towards anybody was the same, which tells you that he has a lot of self-confidence and self-esteem, which is very, very important.
Well, Simon, DK, today is the big day, and on the big day, the big nerves come in, which is why we feel both these teams need some jaldi cooling, which is why I'm going to ask both our experts for their coolest advice, powered by Crompton Air Coolers Jaldi Cooling. Short and simple, what does one do to win and pick up that big trophy?
Try and remain calm, try and remain cool, trust what's got you there, and if you go out, embrace it, love the nerves, and just go out and embrace the situation. If you do that, if you trust what has got you there in the first place, you'll be okay. Don't try and do anything different.
DK, you're a former KKR skipper. Any pointed advice to KKR you have today?
Play the same way you've played so far. They've been brilliant to watch, and I'm sure they can do something very, very special for the 3rd time.
All right. That was the advice they've given us, is to keep it very simple. Let's have a look at the advice, the tweets that you all have written in, and find out who our 2 lucky winners for today's contest have been. Kumar 112 says, Kolkata need to bring Suya Sharma as an impact player, Chennai's pitch assist spinners. Hashtag coolest advice. All right, let's see if that happens. Next up, Tarak Krishnan says that Hyderabad should try a way to fit in Washington, at least in the bowling 11. He and Markram can be quite handy against left-handed filled Kolkata lineup. Very few interesting advice that's come in there, but on a big day,
they're trying to change the team for the final, which is something we've both said probably shouldn't do.
Yes.
But hey, everyone's got. That's what I love about it. Everyone's got an opinion about something, which is good.
And nice, serious opinions that to get in Washington on the big day. Interesting one. I know you're good friends with Washi.
Yeah, it is a very good piece of advice, and I say that because that means you've batted really well because you've not used Samad then. What they're looking to do is if a wicket falls, then they're thinking whether to bring in Samad or just let him be, because when they come back to bowl, what does happen is they can bring Washington Sundar. That's the reason why they've held back Samad and put Shahbaz in, because they need Shahbaz, the bowler, for sure today. So they'd rather sacrifice Samad and hope that if he doesn't bat, they can bring in Washington Sundar, which will give them the bowling option.
All right, these were our coolest advices, powered by Crompton Air Coolers Jaldi Cooling. Guys, thank you so much for writing in with all the advice. It's been very serious, it's been very quirky, it's been funny all season long, and we have thoroughly enjoyed it. What we have thoroughly enjoyed besides your advice, and what has been extremely serious this season long, DK comes in today, so we have to tell him the scenarios.com for the very important prediction game. See,
dear.
I'm not even reading the
This
first
is as complicated
three.
as,
It's complicated
RCB
as
getting to the
RCB.
playoffs. I tell you, we had that one up for a while. Well, so Manoj needs to get one correct. He wins. GK gets both guesses correct. He wins. What about Saiyami? Oh, Saiyami's fourth down on the list. Okay. If Saiyami gets both guesses correct and GK and Manoj fail to get any right, she wins. We'd love a winner in the English studio.
I don't think RCB's entry into the playoffs was this complicated.
Well, we had it for very long. I want to have a look at that leaderboard because I know that GK slipped down. He was at number 1, but we see our politician in the house, Mr. Manoj Tiwari, up there with 2 bullseyes as well. So he's doing very well up there. Anyway.
Simon, you're a worthy third place, I see.
No, I don't want to be a third place. I was
No,
really
Simon is a worthy third place.
Yeah,
Simon's
with
a worthy
the
third
bullseyes are the key.
Yeah,
bullseyes
the
are the key. I mean,
bullseyes.
GK can't be winning it without a bullseye as well. I don't
think-
like that.
But okay, I have to put this out. Is DK, we had a dinner yesterday where we all had a lot of fun, and I really was rooting for you coming into the studio, not going for those rules of you have to have played so many games to make it and all of that. I said I want DK to come in, get 2 answers right, and go on top of that leaderboard. So why don't you go first?
What are we looking at first? Question.
Total.
We're
The
looking
The
at
first innings total.
wow, 195.
Come on, you take the ground. I'll just
too
go
much
wherever.
pressure. It's
You
too
take
much
the ground.
pressure on me
I'll
today.
just go wherever I'll go after you.
I need some jaldi cooling as well. I'm going to go with Hyderabad batting. I'll go with 208.
208, 195. A little bit lower. Final, I think anything above 185 is going to be very competitive. So I'll go one more at 186.
186, all right. It's just Hyderabad doing Hyderabad things. If they go crazy. That's how they've been. So that's why my 208. But besides, of course, the other serious business in the house, DK, have you forgotten about the very important joy factor question?
Oh, wow.
So that's not gone anywhere either. We have a look at Joyda's question. Which cricketer made his international debut in the final of an ICC tournament and played his last match on the same ground around 5 years later? This hasn't changed. I have no clue.
Okay.
Simon's got his thinking hat. I don't have a clue.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll forget this and not even bother because it's a high pressure game.
I'll give you a little clue. I think someone in the studio played with that person.
That's not a very big clue.
Well,
All right.
narrows it down, doesn't it?
Cryptic.
Simon.
No.
Sorry. In the studio.
Someone
so there
in
is
this-
Manoj and me. So one of us have
And
played
there's
with it.
Viru.
Virubai is also there.
No, in this studio.
Oh, in this studio.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
Really?
I'm not
It's
talking
not
about.
me.
I'm not talking about those folk downstairs.
Okay.
No, I'm just saying in this studio.
Wow. So the pressure's on me now.
All right, guys.
And Simon.
The pressure is on.
Let's not
DK
forget
and
Simon's
Simon.
played plenty
Yes,
as well.
of course. DK and Simon are in. I think you have the answer, but we'll have this discussion in the green room. We are going to now find out what happens on the big day because there are 2 birthday boys. There is Reddy and Sunil Narayan. So who's going to cut the cake with a big smile on their face? We'll find out, and we'll be giving you all the updates at the 10 over point at the Cricbuzz Combox. So we will see you all there very soon.
Jaipur via Kota,
कृपया ध्यान आपो अहमदाबाद
दिल्ली में आपका स्वागत
ನಿಲ್ದಾಣದ ಕಡೆಗೆ ಹೊರಟಿರುವವರೇ
Hyderabad 50 Express পরবর্তী স্টেশন নেতাজি ভবন कृपया ध्यान दें